I have not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring gas. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
All right, there he is, Kyle Theige. It's been a week and a half since we've talked to you on Flagrant Howls because I got deathly ill at the end of last week. You were jonesing to come on, and I let you and the audience down late last week, but here we are. Good to see you, my friend.
You sound a lot better. You know, I still listen to every other pod you do, and you sounded like absolute dog bleep last week. So I'm glad you're feeling better. And it did. I always am like, man, I do too many pods. I should not have my voice out there this often. And then I went 10 days without talking about the team. So I think I might have spammed you with some thoughts. I know I spammed Dane with some thoughts, but it's good to be back. And it's good to, I think they play tonight and they play tomorrow. So the Wolves will pick up and the schedule gets a little easier. I mean, I know the Wolves are out here in Portland for 2 days next week. So a lot of pods then too. But yeah, I think after a tough couple of weeks, you're going to see them now maybe chew up some lesser opponents, and it'll be interesting to see how they react to all that. But we got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. We both, you sent me a video, a football-related video that we're going to tie in here in a second. But I do want to shout out to start the show, a new partner here on Flagrant Howls. So Bricksworth, the OG location in Burnsville, Minnesota, opened in 2020. But they added the second location in the North Loop. And for the YouTube audience, you can see some of like the Detroit-style pizza, the dry rub wings. Just steps away from Target Center, perfect for both home and away games. I've been known, my wife and I have been known to go to Bricksworth to belly up and watch an away game. And I think it was like 2 years ago, and we went in there. I think it was like right before a Twins game, and we opened up the dry rub wing section of the menu. And I think they still have these. In fact, I think they were pictured in one of those photos. They had Cool Ranch Doritos dry rub wings, where like the seasoning was Cool Ranch Dorito seasoning. Oh my gosh. Bricksworth in the North Loop. Check it out. If you're going to a Wolves game, pregame, or you just want to watch on TV, it's steps away from Target Center. Also steps away from Target Center is the Fillmore, which was the home of the 2024 Purple Daily Draft Party last year, which was maybe the greatest, most fun day in Purple Daily history, where they drafted J.J. McCarthy. The Fillmore also has some great concerts coming up. Wasp tonight, Diamond King on Sunday, Say Anything on November 19th and 26th. Find a full slate of schedule information at scorenorth.com/tickets at the Fillmore, downtown Minneapolis, scorenorth.com/tickets. The video you sent me was Kevin O'Connell after the Vikings beat the Colts. And he walks up to Anthony Richardson, beleaguered, benched, inaccurate Anthony Richardson, cast aside by his organization. And at first I thought he was going to go up and like make a recruiting pitch or something like, hey,
he might have
your agent call me. But he basically said, hey, dude, keep your chin up, keep grinding. You're going to have a long career. Like, it was like this awesome pep talk for a guy that probably feels alienated by his organization. I don't know. You and I both love that type of stuff. I feel like the Wolves are building, I don't know. Do you have a Chris Finch tie-in? Because I feel like Finchy seems to have a similar connection with players, but in like a different generational way than compared to KOC.
Yeah, again, the video will probably be trending by the time this is recorded, but go look at Phil's Twitter account because he posted it, and it's just like you said, KOC talking. The thing I like about it, and not to get too deep here, is that 2024, I don't know if there's a lot of empathy, sympathy, caring, compassion in the world right now, but he didn't have to do any of that. Right? Like he just go shake the coach's hand and like dap up some players and get in your locker room and give out game balls. And he went up to the opposing team's franchise quarterback, or so we think, and was just like, you're a bad dude. Like, you're going to play a long time. Everyone still believes in you. Show up to work. And I embrace that. That is probably my favorite aspect of sports, because I went to school for so long for management. I love leadership stuff. And I was just thinking about, again, when I was in LA a couple weeks ago, or just hearing locker room stories over the last couple of days and weeks, I think that's a tough, I'm not even trying to like sell Chris Finch and get him another extension, which again, depending on how arbitration goes, maybe he'll get another one. But I just think that's awesome. And I think that's the type of stuff that we would never hear about. And I think Finch does that too. Maybe not so much with other players on other teams, but I think culture matters. And a lot of the stuff you've heard Ant say post game after some growth opportunities, like, yeah, against Denver, I got lazy, or I just kind of started sleepwalking. And, Finch was going to be on my bleep if I started trying to play hero ball. So I wanted to trust the process and include my teammates. I really think good head coaches, Phil, football, basketball, baseball, are really, really important. And I don't think we talk about it enough, because I think we just always look at, they ran this weird ATO or they did this set. I think coaching is like 60%, 70% now what happens behind the scenes. And I just thought that KOC thing was a good reminder of what happens that we don't know about. And it's hard to talk about it then if we don't know. But if that video is not posted, we never know about that. And all of a sudden KOC looks like maybe the best coach in the NFL today.
There's such different personalities and styles. KOC is this sort of like, first of all, they're different generations because there's like a 20-year age gap between the two. KOC is this sort of millennial empowerment leadership, right? Tell you I love you. And Finch is a little more grizzled in his approach. KOC has a family, and, Chris Finch is this basketball lifer. Yeah, a boat and some beers. But both guys, the similarities are they're both able to command respect and coach hard while having their players publicly voice that they would die on a hill and run through a wall for them. And I just finished watching, laid up in bed last weekend, I finished watching Netflix Starting Five. And it's amazing how there's like a scene where Anthony Edwards is in the passenger seat of a car on the way to a game. And he makes a comment kind of like you just said, where, man, I got to do this or Finch is going to be up my ass, man. But he says it in this, and he loves Finch. He says it in this, like, I don't want to disappoint this coach that I respect way, as opposed to, oh man, this coach that I hate is going to be up my ass about this thing. There is in professional sports today, man, where guys make ridiculous amounts of money. They've been coddled since the day they held a football or a basketball. To be able to have the ability to coach someone hard, tell them the truth, and have them still love you in return is a rare, rare thing in today's coaching world.
In specifics, like, look at what Nickeil Alexander-Walker's doing and just hear how his coach talks about him. I mean, Nickeil has essentially said that Chris Finch saved his career, and just how he kind of trusted him when he was he was a throw-in in the Mike Conley trade, and to build his confidence back up is the reason Nickeil is maybe the third best player right now playing on the team. But then also I think of a guy like, and I know we'll get into this, but like a Jaden McDaniels, who Chris Finch is not afraid to say post-game, pre-game, like he just has to be better. Like he's been doing some things that maybe you guys don't know are really good still in the defense, but like he just has to rebound more. And to say that out loud rather than just say it behind closed doors, I think is one of Finch's ways of connecting with those guys. But yeah, if I bring anything to this media base or covering this team, it's that when I'm in the locker room or behind the scenes, a lot of the stuff fans don't get to see, and I want to highlight that. But the player-coach relationship is, to me, why the Vikings finally have a really good culture and are on the right path. And I think for the Timberwolves, it's the same thing. It's why guys like Julius Randle buy in right away, because they almost look up to a head coach, and that is so rare in a league now that is so dramatic, and all players are always asking out or getting coaches fired. Like, it does seem like all 15, 18 guys in that locker room look at Finch as like a guy they can trust and look up to. So good stuff, KOC.
Hey, last week we were going to do the Anthony Edwards 3-point conversation. So that would have been like 2 or 3 games ago. In fact, it was right around the Denver game, because that game was the Friday night game. And he hoisted he was 7 of 14 from downtown in that game. But here's my question now. Does it concern you, Kyle, that Anthony Edwards has only taken 7 and 6 3-pointers in his last 2 games?
Yeah. Again, I know
the decrease in 3-point volume is alarming to me these last 2 games.
I know you were sick, but man, did we have some stuff we could have talked about last week. That was a day where everyone was like, Ant leads the league in 3-pointers attempted. Is this bad? There was no context into, again, 5 games into the season, or the fact that he was shooting like 42%.
Up to 45% now, by the way.
Yeah, we got to give credit to our friend Craig Kilborn, because he called this out late into the summer, but he was asking us, do you think Ant modified his jumper a little bit? That's now proven. I mean, I even think like guys like Dane have confirmed it, or like when you watch it and stuff, talk to Ant, He's refined his jump shot a little bit, hanging out with Steph, hanging out with KD, hanging out with Devin Booker for Team USA. And now it's just the smoothest jumper he's ever had. And he just is using it as a weapon from the outside. But it was funny because that 3-pointer conversation, and is he just a chucker now? And does he ever go to the rim? Did you watch the Denver game? When he, I mean, again, it's probably not too hard to get by Michael Porter Jr., but I think he hits that game-winning floater, which, by the way, the floater is something that was not in his bag last year or the first 4 years of the season.
It's a very Sprewell-esque floater that he's brought
feeding
back.
His family. I think he gets by Michael Porter Jr. so easily because I think Michael Porter Jr. is defending against Ant taking a step back three. So I think a lot of these threes that he's taking are also just setting up the defender to, okay, if you're going to crowd me a little bit more, I can hit that step back almost whenever I want, or I can at least get to it. But now I have such an elite first step going north and south that I can just get right by you. He gets in the lane, hits that floater, and they win the game. So that's something else we could talk about. That was such an awesome basketball game. I know that they blew the lead and it seemed like, oh my God, here we go again. But I came away from that win being like, and that was before Denver. I mean, obviously Jamal Murray went out in that game, but they still had Aaron Gordon, who had a huge night. That was just a really impressive win. The Spurs loss was, I don't know, man. They pulled up at sunrise to San Antonio. So I'm not too worried about that. And then they recovered against the Hornets. So yeah, I'm not concerned about the threes. And if he's going to be making them at this clip, I would like to see him still get to the rim more because there's not 5 guys in the league better than he is at that. But how do you complain about someone who's shooting north of 40% on high volume? Like that's
the thing. I think the short answer is, so right now, after 7 games, still less than a tenth of the season. So we're still small sample size alert. But he's shooting almost 12 threes per game, which is like near the top of the league. It was top of the league when it was 13. He's making 45% on 12 threes a game volume. The short answer is, mathematically, yes, you should be shooting as many threes as you want. As long as, like, if there was like a graph that we could create, is like the F around and find out graph, right? Like if you, as long as you can maintain shooting over 40% from downtown, you can take 13, 15, 20, whatever it is. Now, sustainability, I mean, peak Steph Curry was sitting at like, what, maybe 11, 12? I don't have it in front of me. It's hard just to like get that many off in a game. But he's also he's still mixing in other layers of offense. And I think you're right. It's kind of like in football when a team sort of flips the script and says, to get our running game going, rather than just like continuing to pound the ball on first and second down, we're going to pass to set up the run later, and we're going to lighten the box, if you will. And now there's only 6 men in the box because we've spread them out with our passing game. Boom, here's a drop play. And that, you're right, dude. That's what it feels like the last 2 games have been for Anthony Edwards. It's like, okay, I just spent the first 2 weeks spreading out the offense. And I'm still going to spread out the offense, but now that you only put 6 guys in the box, like football box, now I'm going to get my floaters. Now I'm going to get to the rim, get to the free throw line 7 times in that Charlotte game in only 29 minutes. So I mean, dude, if you're going to shoot 40+%, shoot as many as you want, Ant.
So, I mean, a really good comp is 2 players from the 2020 draft, Anthony Edwards and Tyrese Maxey. They're both averaging through 7 games. I know Maxey got hurt, but 11 threes a game, Ant's shooting 45%, Tyrese Maxey shooting 28%, right? So if you're a Sixers fan, you're like, Tyrese, go to the rim. Stop. It's not working. It's 1 out of every 4. And for Ant, it's like damn near a coin flip. So I also think, too, that's just a way for him to generally space. I mean, without Karl, and Julius has been great. We can talk about that, but there is a little less spacing on the floor. And I think Ant can just organically create more spacing for even himself by just making the defender come out to almost 30 feet. And then he has such an explosive first step that, I thought he had a really good game other than kind of sleepwalking in that 4th. So I wanted to at least mention that because that Denver Nuggets Timberwolves game was one of the better games all season. Yeah. And I think the Wolves, again, I said this to Dane, I would be more concerned if the Wolves would have lost to the Nuggets and beat the Spurs than I was if they beat the Nuggets and lost to the Spurs. That Spurs game is, I think we'll learn, right? 82 game season. It's so long. We're only 2.5 weeks into the regular season. That Spurs game is just one of those 5 you probably just throw out at the end of the year. You don't really watch the tape. You're just like, hey, listen, it was a schedule loss. It is what it is. Let's move forward. And they did that on Monday, right? At home against the Hornets. So that was an impressive kind of bounce back win against a really bad team, and they took care of business.
What is your level of annoyance, though, that they haven't found more time to play more guys? Like I know that Minot got some minutes in that Spurs game, like 8 minutes, maybe 9 minutes. That would have been a great game to say, all right, okay, this is a Dillingham game. This is let's play 10 guys and let's reduce some minutes here, because you're probably going to get beat anyways, from a schedule standpoint. Is it like sound the alarm a little bit? Is it just, Finch doesn't trust young players very much, clearly, but what's your level of annoyance that they haven't expanded the rotation?
It's so low compared to everyone else, to the point where I'm annoyed with this topic, but it's an important topic, because in hindsight, it would make sense that, okay, we flew out of Minneapolis Friday night late. It's a late game on Friday against Nuggets. They didn't get out until like 2:30 at the airport. They get into San Antonio at like 5.
Mm-hmm.
And your thought could have been like, why don't we just not even play Mike and just start Rob Dillingham? Or like, why don't we throw the young guys out there right away with some fresh legs? I see that. And I was one of the people in October and September saying that. But I also know, because you talk to the coach, you talk to people behind the scenes, that I think Chris Finch, back to the culture thing, is also trying to create an expectation for the guys who are actually going to be relied on in April and May and June, that we're not going to have excuses. So should Mike have sat himself out because he's got a weird wrist and he's older? Maybe. But also maybe Finch is like, hey, Phil, big picture, I thought they would come into this, start big, and then cut it down. I look around the league, and I don't think that's how other teams are doing it, outside of maybe like the Warriors or something. I think Finch is the inverse. I think he wants to hammer home roles and hierarchy, and figuring out like, how does Julius Randle and Jaden McDaniels pair together? The way that Finch is handling this might be easy to criticize, but also it's really working, right? They have the best bench in the league. Like, who else is better than the trio of Naz, Nikhil, and DiVincenzo? Those are all guys that, not Nikhil, I guess, but they could win 6th man of the year. They have 6 through 8. I don't know a team that has a better 6 through 8 than them. Finch called them 8 starters. So maybe he just wants to get those guys really humming together, iron out a bunch of stuff, and then, and I keep stressing this, I know it's annoying, they're like 8% through the season. They're 7 games in. Like, I would imagine Josh Minot could average 20 minutes a game in January when someone's out or injured, but they're going to play. Mike Conley said this about Rob. When Mike was a rookie, he didn't play that much right away. He was higher lottery pick than Rob Dillingham. They're going to play, but I don't know. I've been really irked by the fact of, not only do we judge the wins, I said this to you last week about like kind of the beauty points or whatever. Like, what else do you want? Do you, like, if they were 2-5, but they were playing a 10-man rotation, would we all be like, hey man, Chris Finch, good job? No, you'd be pissed off that he's not cutting the rotation down, trying to win games. So I think those guys are going to play. I wish they would maybe get a little more run at certain points, but I also understand that, especially for Rob, who is going to be a focal point of this franchise moving forward, he's looking up at not only Mike Conley, but Nikhil, who is playing the best basketball of his career right now for 2 weeks. Ant, DiVincenzo, all those guys need to have 30 minutes. There's just not a lot of time right now for Rob. So it'll come, but we got to stop talking about it. Like, for real.
Yeah, I think I'm indifferent on this right now. I'm curious, and I would like to see more of some of these guys. When Minot was out there for, 8 minutes against the Spurs, the first shift he's out there, and he gets 2 wide open corner threes in the bottom left corner. The shot that he's been working on and honing the entire offseason. And he clanked both of them. And I was thinking, man, like, I want him to make those shots so that there's not an excuse. Like, if he comes in and starts sinking those wide open corner threes that opposing teams are going to give him, because there's no reason to respect, like, oh, you worked on your shot in the offseason, congrats. He's going to get those open looks. So I'm curious to see these guys. I'm with you. I'm not outraged about it. At some point, they do need to expand it. I think what I'm most curious about, or annoyed or irked, if you will, is your guy Jaden McDaniels. If you look at the first 7 games here, so Nikhil, when Nikhil is on the court, the Wolves are a plus 25 per 100 possessions when Nikhil is on the court. When DiVincenzo is on the court, they're a plus 8 per 100 possessions. When Naz Reid is on the court, they're a plus 8 per 100 possessions. You got these guys coming off the bench that are just sparks, and they're making shots, and they're bolts of energy, right? And here's Jaden McDaniels, contract kicked in, 24 years old now, and Chris Finch kind of called him out a couple games ago. He is a minus 12, or the Wolves are a minus 12 when he is on the court for them so far this year. So he started that game the other night like 0 for 6 or whatever it was, 0 for 7. And Mike Conley is over there giving him a pep talk between rotations. And he comes back and actually like contributed in the second half and made some shots and grabbed some rebounds and stuff. But give us a state of Jaden McDaniels address here from the number one Jaden McDaniels fan on the internet.
He has been the worst rotation player that they've played. I am not naive to that. I'm not blind to that. He has missed a lot of corner threes. He's had some dumb fouls, which has kind of been part of his makeup since he arrived in the league. But I want to answer your question with another question tied to a former job of yours. You used to be a beat reporter for the Minnesota Twins, and they play a season twice as long as the NBA. How many games back in the day when you were covering it, how many games would a player go who was just couldn't hit the ball before they downshifted him in the lineup? If whoever you were covering, Chuck Knobloch or whatever, had 3 games where he was 0 for 3, did he move from 2nd to 6th in the lineup? Or how long did that leash go?
To start the season in baseball, I mean, it's situational, but you'd give a guy at least like probably 3 weeks, probably 3 weeks, maybe a month. And
this is kind of ties into the rotation talk we just had. It did seem like after the Karl-Anthony Towns trade that we all agreed. I thought, I'll have to go back and look at the documents, but that we were going to give them 15 to 20 games to try to figure some of this out. That includes the rotation. That includes, like to the Mike Conley thing. He has now said he didn't pick up a basketball all summer. So he's like playing his way back into shape. And I thought he looked pretty good against the Hornets. And he's also been very vocal about how he doesn't have to do as much. And that is like an adjustment, even for a veteran. He's like, man, I can just kind of go out here and spot up. Like I don't have to carry the load and make the dinner. So going back to Jaden, I think he's been terrible, but I also don't understand why, like people want, like, you can't bench him. You can't just like punish him by taking away all his minutes. Or I do think 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, if they're middling at 11 and 11 and he's still shooting 18% from the corners, then like maybe you do switch it up a little bit. If it came down to who do we move out of the lineup, starting lineup first, Mike or Jaden, it's easier to move Mike out. He took a pay cut. He's older. He's battling a wrist thing. There's more depth there. I still worry that if you take Jaden out, I don't view this team as Jaden's backup is Nikhil. I think Nikhil is more of like Mike's backup or pseudo Ant backup. If you take Jaden out, you're starting 4 guys that are 6'8" or under. And I think you're going to, Jaden doesn't rebound, but that's why if Jaden does eventually get punished and cut minutes or moved out of the lineup or whatever, that's where I would, hey, Josh Minot, now we get to expand the rotation because Josh at least has the height, and he had a really, I'm so nerdy for saying this, but he had a really impressive rebound against the Spurs where he went up, got this big rebound, and then got on transition and scored a bucket and then was really amped. Like that's growth from a 21-year-old. So is the Jaden McDaniels thing a problem? Sure. Do you need to do anything right now? You listened to the game against the Hornets, right? He was 0 for 6 and Jim and Grady were talking about this. Like, what do you do? Like, he's kind of in his own head. He looks frustrated. And then he had one go through and then he hit a big 3 from the top and he drove baseline. I think you just have to let these guys, in the baseball analogy, keep swinging for a little bit in their part in the order and just reevaluate it like a month from now. My biggest take, Phil, since we haven't talked in 10 days, I don't give a damn about anything. Like you're just indifferent
until the in-season tournament is over, and then we can start locking in
20 games. Like, give me to Christmas and then see what happens. Like, it's just so weird that we can point out, like, last year they were pretty weird for the first couple weeks, and then they took off, and now people are like, yeah, but they're not going to do it this year. What do you have to prove that? What data? Like, they lost to the Hawks, and it was doom and gloom last year, and then they reeled off 16 of their next 20 or whatever. Look at their schedule now. It's a lot of Chicago. They play the Blazers 3 times in 6 days. It's a lot of middling teams that maybe that just is how they start to get more reps and kind of find their groove again. And that 2 weeks from now, they're 12-5 or 12-6. And like, oh, you know what? It was actually smart to not bench one of our still foundational players. So,
I wanted to verify this just in case my memory doesn't serve, but I almost feel like Jaden McDaniels should be like Trenton Hassel was for the 2003-2004 Timberwolves. For the audience that's too young, I mean, that was one of the two greatest Timberwolves teams in history, right? There's only two teams that ever went to the Western Conference Finals. And Trenton Hassel was this defense-first athletic wing player who could knock down. Now, I think Jaden McDaniels' offensive bag is much deeper skill set-wise than Trenton Hassel. Trenton Hassel was not even like a 3-and-D guy. He was like D and mid-range jumper guy. It was his offensive bag. And he was a starter. And he'd be out there with Kevin Garnett and Sam Cassell, Latrell Sprewell. And he started almost every game for the Wolves, regular season and playoffs. But there were some games where, for whatever reason, they needed something else offensively off the bench if Wally was healthy or whatever. Or they needed some more Fred Hoiberg in situations to shoot some threes, spot up in the corner. And so there were, of the 81 games that Trenton Hassel played, there was a bunch where he would literally be like, hey, we need you to lock down Carmelo Anthony, or we need you to lock down whoever, Kobe or somebody. And he would play 42 or 45 or 38 minutes. But in 30 to 35 of his games, he played 25 or fewer minutes. That on certain nights, this is a Trenton Hassel game, this is a 20-minute game, this is a 40-minute game. And I think they have to have that sort of mindset with Jaden McDaniels where, hey, tonight, perfect matchup. This is a 35-minute Jaden McDaniels game. But on this night, we need to lean more into maybe smaller lineups. Because, dude, there's something there right now. It's early. I get it. But there's a DiVincenzo Nikhil, DiVincenzo Ant. Like, there's some certain combinations. Naz Reid here and there. You'd love to lean more into some of the things that are really working, especially on offense. And I think where I'm at is I'm not changing the lineup. I'm not benching him outright. But I am willing to designate certain games as this is a 19-minute, 20-minute Jaden McDaniels night, not a 30-plus minute night. And we're going to pour other minutes into other combinations.
And that happened on Monday against the Hornets.
Yep.
7 guys played more minutes than Jaden McDaniels. And it was just, hey, you know what? I mean, again, they blew them out, but let's just lean more into Nikhil and DDV. Who was the best player ultimately, or the most clutch player against the Nuggets last Friday? Nikhil. He was scoreless up until mid-fourth, and then I think he had rattled off 8 straight points, including a couple big threes, right? And what did they do in that game? They subbed out Jaden, and they put Nikhil in. So I think that is, if you are anti-Jaden right now because he's playing poorly, that you have the right to feel that way. I'm just more articulating or arguing against the remedy. And maybe the remedy is just publicly call him out a little bit, cut his minutes a little bit. You saw what Redick just did yesterday with your guy, D'Angelo Russell. He did the same thing. And that's the way to do it. But to the top of this podcast, you know what the way isn't to do it? Bench the guy like Anthony. Like, what did Anthony Richardson learn, going back to the football thing quick, watching Joe Flacco get crushed by the Vikings? Did he learn about hard counts and reading through progressions? No, it did nothing for him. So I don't think benching a guy who's underperforming is the answer 3.5 weeks before Thanksgiving. Cutting his minutes, calling him out a little bit, trying to get a fire under him, absolutely go for it. And I think that's why Finch is really good. But to say he's unplayable, you're unplayable.
Yeah, that's right. Random angry fan after 2.5 weeks of the season here. We have a random wolf of the week coming up here, but hey,
look at that guy.
There's old Macadac walking into his new dentist, Park
that
Dental.
Was arbitration.
It could be arbitration for my teeth. That's right. For over 50 years, Park Dental has been caring for and cleaning teeth in Minnesota and Western Wisconsin. I was dentistless about a year ago, and because my old dentist retired. He was awesome. Guy was awesome. He just decided, too old for this. I'm not cleaning teeth anymore. I want to retire. So that left me I was a dental free agent, quite frankly.
Okay.
It was great. Got to explore my options, and Park Dental has been awesome. I actually can't wait for my next appointment. I made some new friends at Park Dental. They've got some updated technology from what I was used to. You can schedule your checkup at parkdental.com. That's parkdental.com. Also, one more shout out to KW Outdoor Solutions. It's holiday light season, and if the thought of climbing up on a ladder and hanging lights and then taking them all down at the end of the season gives you anxiety or heartburn, Let KW Outdoor Solutions do it for you. They are your one-stop shop for outdoor holiday lighting, design, installation, maintenance, takedown, storage. They'll do roof lines, trees, shrubs. They'll do it all. And you can choose from either something simple like a classic single-colored look, or if you want to go full Clark Griswold and blow away the neighborhood, you can do that too. KWOutdoorsolutions.com. KWOutdoorsolutions.com.
Those are impressive sponsors. I just got to say that if you're not listening on YouTube, go check it out, subscribe. But 28:30 into the podcast, who filmed that video? I mean, that is elite. It's
the KW?
No, you getting your teeth cleaned.
Oh, that one.
Do you have a content guy?
Dude,
Look at this. Phil's just walking into a nice
supernatural too. Yeah, that was just me walking in, and there happened to be some paparazzi.
That's an incredible video. And you leave with a little. Is that a tooth sticker that you got for getting your teeth cleaned?
With that, yeah. You get the I voted sticker. You also get the I got my teeth cleaned sticker at Park
Might be the last place to get fluoride too moving forward. So good for you on that. Shout out to the sponsors. And I just gotta say this. I said this before the sponsor ad. Did you see the Redick thing? I was in LA, as I've said it before. I got to see JJ Redick coach his first game and win his game. I think if you're a casual fan or you like to look for other storylines outside of the Timberwolves on day in and day out basis, keep an eye on the Lakers stuff, because I think Redick is bringing a new, as we talk about KOC and Finch, I don't think D'Angelo Russell has ever had a coach call him out publicly. And I think Redick is going to be a really interesting, fun coach to watch.
My first thought when he came in, because Redick is all business.
All business.
And he's literally like breaking down film in his car, running errands in the offseason, right? And my first thought was, D'Lo and Redick are going to be a really interesting mix. Mm-hmm. Interesting mix.
And he's so competitive. I mean, Redick it's really cool to watch a player like that coach, and also to see how his persona has changed from the guy we all hated at Duke to now the guy we kind of like, even though he coaches a Duke-like team. I just thought that was interesting. And another reminder of maybe how good, even though they're only 4-3 right now, as they enter Chicago tonight against the Bulls, how much worse it could be. Because there's just a lot of guys in the league I would just hate to have on my team. And I look at this roster and it's like, some guys are underperforming. Some guys I think need more of a chance, but it's a pretty cool group of guys to cheer for. And that's kind of why I'm so excited about where this goes over the next 7 to 10 games, is that I think they have a chance to, you love net rating. I don't think they're in the top 10 right now in offensive or defensive rating, but let's see what a couple more weeks can do, because while some things haven't gone well, like Jaden or, even like Mike, they just have some guys on the bench that are just chewing away, waiting for more opportunities. So fun 2-week kind of break here into the season. And I'm excited to see where this is at a couple more weeks from now.
Speaking of, we'll get to a random Wolf here in a second, but speaking of net rating and checking in on former Timberwolves. So last night I flip on the Warriors Celtics game on ESPN. I think it was on ESPN.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll go watch some sports here. I've had enough of perusing through all the different news channels and stuff the last 72 hours. So I flip on a basketball game last night, and Kyle Anderson is in for the Warriors, who, by the way, the Warriors have the #1 net rating in the entire league. They got rid of Clay, and they're just off to an amazing start. And dude, I tuned in for like 5 minutes of real time. And Kyle Anderson knocked down 3 3-pointers. Now, I did check. Those are the only 3-pointers he made in the game. And he hasn't exactly been he was shooting like 20% from 3 going into the game. But it's a little bit more of a quicker shooting motion. And the Celtics said, we're going to leave you open, man. Like he made the first 2, and they come back down on the 3rd possession. And the Celtics are still sagging off. Fire away, heat check. And by golly, he heat checks from the top of the key. And his teammates are going crazy. But I tuned in at the exact time to see Kyle Anderson cashing 3 consecutive 3-pointers for his new home in Golden State Warriors.
Kyle Anderson made 11 3-pointers last year in 79 games for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He has made 6 3-pointers in 8 games.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That was a really good game too. And it actually this is my last random basketball thought, but it ties into the Wolves. There was a couple of possessions where Steph and Andrew Wiggins ran really good high pick and roll, and Steph, just his gravity brings so much attention on defense that I remember Wiggins cut through the lane once, got this ball and just kind of took off from the free throw line and kind of laid it up, but it was kind of a cool Superman layup dunk. It just got me to thinking, again, D'Angelo Russell was a big night in the league for former Wolves players, but what would, at some point we got to do like a big what if on the whole D'Lo for Wiggins thing, because it probably wouldn't have led to the Wolves having the first overall pick or whatever. But I was just thinking, like, with what Ant has done to change the culture and to breathe life into guys, like he was always so, when Carl was struggling or guys are struggling, he's always first to lift them up and be like, they won us the game. Like, it wasn't me, it was them. I would have loved to have seen Andrew Wiggins play 1 year with Ant and Pat Bev, just to see, like, could they have gotten, because it clearly, if you watch Wiggins play, he's had Timberwolvesy moments in Golden State, but he's just a better player, I think, or a more winning player, and maybe that helps playing with Hall of Famers. But it would have been cool to see Ant, who is many years younger than Wiggins, just get to sink his teeth into Wiggins for a year and try to get that dog out of him a little bit. So I don't know. What if?
No, I think you're right, because it's Wiggins doesn't have the personality needed to have fulfilled what people thought he was going to be. Like there was some talk when he was at Kansas that this is going to be, once his body fills out, this is going to be like the next LeBron, this super freak wing player who can handle the ball and whatever. He doesn't have that like killer demeanor necessarily, but was there a different version of him if he was? It sucks when you're drafted in that position, or if you're the Wolves, you traded franchise Kevin Love to get the rights to Andrew Wiggins, right? Like, you can't just come in and be like, and the organization be like, you know what? I know he was number 1 overall, but he's really more like a third guy on a championship team, and we don't have the first 2 guys yet. So we're gonna kind of just ease him in as the third guy on a team that aspires to be good. But once he found that perfect fit where he wasn't viewed as the savior of a bad franchise, which is what he and Kat were supposed to be here, and he goes to Golden State and he had that one magical run where he discovered rebounding for the first time in the NBA Finals. He grabs like 14 rebounds, and the media is asking him after the game about the rebounds. He goes, "Yeah, I mean, I just kind of discovered that if you put your mind to it, you can grab rebounds. It's great." But yeah, it's funny because there might be a time before the end of his career where he'd be a great fit here as like a fourth guy, you know, a 1-year contract, or you trade for him at the end of a contract and just kind of bring it full circle. But I root for the guy. I do root for the guy. Yeah,
just last night was a really fun night. Monday was fun too because all the teams played, but we've had a couple of days off, so I was just looking up other storylines. But yeah, Wiggins has kind of come around. D'Angelo Russell stock very low. And then also I would be remiss if I didn't say, keep an eye on our Detroit Pistons, because they're kind of figuring it out. And I just think they need to win about 32 games for the Wolves to possibly get a first round draft pick in 2025. So when the Pistons are on TV, they are must watch. Oh, also too, Jimmy Butler had a massive brain fart last night and lost them the game. And that brought me great joy.
What happened? I did not see this.
They're playing the Suns, and he had a chance to take a game-tying 3, and instead of taking it like at the buzzer, he like jumped and passed to Tyler Hero, and the clock expired. So you can't win without me. Maybe they can.
Poor guy. Couldn't happen to a better former Timberwolf. Let's bring in producer extraordinaire here, Ross Brendel, to lead our random Wolf of the Week.
How you boys been? It's been a little while.
It's been what, 2 weeks since our last random Wolf of the Week here?
Yeah, the one I have in front of me was prepared a long time ago. I panicked about 10 minutes before the show and said, oh my gosh, I got to put together a random Wolf of the Week. Nope, I've had one sitting in front of me for about 2 weeks. So we're good to go.
So I believe, does Kyle have 23 or 24 all-time wins?
Well, he's got 23, but there is a point to bring up here.
Let's do it. This is important. I've been waiting to talk about this.
Do we need to start over this year and just say that Kyle is up only 1-0?
Oh,
and
like
that
he was the champion
winner,
last year?
I think so.
Of season 1.
I think we should do a new season.
Okay.
So,
Phil, your thoughts?
Well, I think Kyle deserves the Kevin Garnett one. Did that happen after the start of this season? So Kyle's up 1-0, right?
I'm up 1-0.
Yep. 1-0. Okay.
It did, and that would put him up 1-0.
This gives me a better chance to stay close, like within 10, if we start over.
I'm the defending champion of Random Wolf of the Week, but it is a new season, new group of players, new algorithm. right, Ross? I know you've been working on that behind the scenes.
Yeah, brand new algorithm. So new, I'm just using it from a different computer.
There we go. So yeah, I would say the score for the 24-25 season is 1-0. I think we're both losing. Every time I check the comment section, it's crazy how many people are like, I got this on the third try. It took you 9. We're working on it.
I don't know if I believe everyone who says like, I got it after the third clue. You can't just be like Googling things. There are some much smarter people though who listen to the show than I am. So we'll concede that 100%.
I will say this, the players, the score may reset. The used players should not reset. So the players that have been used will not reset.
So like Antoine Walker was the first one we did in year 1. He is still off the board.
Okay.
So we've done 26 all-time random Wolves. Kyle with a 1-0 lead in year 2. And this season will just run until like the beginning of next season. Is that how we're going to do it?
I think that's the way we should do it. So once the
at some point we will run out of like in a couple years. Well, no, they've had like 200 players, right?
300 plus, and we only got through 25-ish.
Oh, we're good.
We're good for like a decade.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be canceled.
Here we go.
I'll be canceled.
Hopefully the show is not canceled yet. All right, so Ross is going to throw out a series of clues. We get up to 3 incorrect guesses each. If one of us hits a third strike, the other one wins automatically, plus the heat check guess.
Heat check's my favorite part because you guys just all use the same player every time, and it's bound to happen one of these days where the heat check is correct. Here we go. This random Wolf of the Week is so random, gentlemen. His Wikipedia page is only 3 paragraphs long.
Oh, man. Well, that's...
Rasho Nesterovic.
No, that's got to be way longer.
It's got to be way longer than 3 paragraphs, right?
Now you got me on my computer. Rasho.
You can look that
How
up.
many paragraphs is Let's pause the show. How many paragraphs is Rasho Nesterovic's Wikipedia page?
Holy bleep. Like
the
30. Okay, my bad. My bad.
I was going to say the body before it goes to like all this, the extra stuff, the personal stuff, the teams. I bet you that alone is like 8 paragraphs.
His NBA debut was with the Timberwolves, but he did play a lot overseas. He's an NBA champion. Okay, I apologize.
Yeah, with the Spurs, right?
And his family. He is way more decorated than I thought. 6
great
overseas
points
per game. Yeah, great overseas player.
Side note, boys, we should talk and see if we need to check back in with Shane Heel for our yearly Aussie check-in. Might be worth doing that again at some point.
There are people on that.
Phil,
okay.
you got one?
I'm going to go 3 paragraphs. Man. Sam Jacobson.
It is not Sam Jacobson. Good guess. And when I say 3 paragraphs, I mean the entire thing. That is all that's there is 3 paragraphs. There's no like other teams, other things. It's just 3 paragraphs.
First to our Wikipedia asking you to donate money.
Yeah.
Yes. This random Wolf of the Week, if you guys know your New Mexico State Lobos basketball, will help you because he is a former New Mexico State Lobo. How well do you know your Minnesota Timberwolves?
That's where Patino is, or is he at New Mexico?
He is at New Mexico State right now. You are correct in that. Okay. No, wait a second. No, he's at New Mexico. Because New Mexico State is where Jerry Kill was at, right?
Okay.
Patino's at New Mexico.
Yep, so he's at New Mexico. And he just loves tweeting about how great the sky is there in Albuquerque. Seriously, once a week he's tweeting about the... You've seen him, haven't you, Kyle?
It's beautiful there. It is beautiful.
He's a timeline cleanser, just like Elmo.
This random Wolf of the Week, gentlemen, hails from Chicago, Illinois. From Chicago, Illinois, played college basketball at New Mexico State. Very brief Wikipedia page.
We're going to go from Kevin Garnett to like some dude who played 5 minutes in 1993.
It is very, very random. This random Wolf of the Week, per his LinkedIn page, is a current professional basketball developer at Chicago Performance Training. There is more information on this player on his LinkedIn page than his Wikipedia page.
I'm sending him a friend invite after this. We're going to connect. He's going to be on the pod next week.
Phil, this will make you happy with your CBA knowledge. This random Wolf of the Week played for the Sioux Falls Skyforce of the CBA. This random wolf of the week was a 6-year vet in the National Basketball Association.
You know, that's to be a 6-year NBA vet and only have 3 paragraphs on Wikipedia is disrespectful. It's disrespectful.
Take that, big Wikipedia. This random wolf of the week played for 5 different NBA franchises. Now, that's impressive. That's basically a new team every year. All right, boys, if you're really lost, we can start to narrow down the time frame a little bit. This random wolf of the week scored a career high 28 points on February 6th of 1994 as a member of the Los Angeles Lakers.
Wow.
This random
That was
wolf of the week.
That was a weird period for the Lakers. That was
they were not good.
It was between Magic Johnson stints. It was
Before Shaq and Kobe.
But it was like the Glenn Rice era Lakers or the Nick Van Exel.
Vlade Divac, Kurt Rambis, Nick Van Exel, Sam Bowie,
Eddie
Cedric
Jones.
Ceballos. Yeah, you're right. Though and they were coached by Del Harris. Oh, Del Harris. Okay, little throwback. I'm so lost. I have no idea.
This random wolf of the week spent the bulk of his career with Minnesota. Follow up. This random wolf of the week played in 94 games for the Timberwolves. This random wolf of the week appeared in 12 career NBA playoff games. 10 of them for the Atlanta Hawks.
Okay.
So we're also now going back to a time period where the Atlanta Hawks regularly made the playoffs. This random wolf of the week last played NBA basketball during the 1999-2000 season.
Dude, I don't.
We're getting there.
No, I'm not,
I only have a handful of clues left before it's basically the first one to shout the name out. So.
We haven't gotten to initials yet, so.
This random wolf of the week was teammates with former random wolves of the week, Doug West, Sam Mitchell, and Shane Heel.
Tom Hammonds.
Tom Hammonds is a wonderful guess, but not correct. It's a great guess.
I have no idea who that is.
I'm just thinking of random dudes from like the early KG era.
This random wolf of the week may have a very famous NBA last name, but he is the only Minnesota Timberwolves ever to have that last name. I'll read that one again for you. This random wolf of the week may have a very famous NBA last name, but he is the only Minnesota Timberwolf to ever have that last name. All right, boys, be ready. I think we're going to do it here. Get close to the mic.
Oh, man.
Get close to the mic and get ready. This is my last clue before I really start having to dig. This random wolf of the week is not Reggie Jackson. He would be Reggie
Johnson. Reggie Johnson.
Oh,
Am I wrong?
Is it Reggie Jordan?
That is not correct, Phil. That is correct, Kyle. It is Reggie Jordan.
That would have been.
Dude, I'm gonna file a complaint. I don't know who that is. I'm literally just
Reggie Jordan.
You gave me the first name, and then the only clue I have written down is famous basketball name.
I think
who's Reggie Jordan?
Johnson is fine. I get it. Magic Johnson. I really thought you would have had Jordan when I said very famous last name.
He somehow played 57 games for the 97-98 Timberwolves. 8.5 minutes a game. He was a rotation player on the. You want to? By the way, people, you want a glimpse of KG's career? KG is literally carrying rosters that had Reggie Jordan playing 57 games as a rotation player to 50-win seasons. That was Kevin Garnett's career right there.
Would either of you like to open up the Reggie Jordan Wikipedia page and just read the entire thing?
I was going to ask Phil, I go, Phil, this is your show. I know we're getting towards the end, but I think the listeners, if they have not tuned out already on this episode, I think we need to go through really quick. Reginald Jordan, born January 26, 1968, is an American former basketball player and coach. Born in Chicago, attended Proviso High School. I don't even want to do this anymore, Ross, but it is really, really bad. But Phil, he played for like 21 different teams between 91 and present.
I'm looking at the list. It's crazy.
Who are the Las Vegas
he's playing
Rattlers?
He's playing the Yakima Sun Kings, the Vegas Rattlers, the Rockford Lightning. So he's playing in the ABA, the CBA, the Michigan Mayhem.
That one was a massive dud, boys. I do apologize, but I have to read the name that shows up.
No, it's all part of the game. It's all don't hate the player, hate the game.
It's all about the game and how you play it.
To Phil's point, though, because we have young listeners, we have older listeners that are all very well educated. Phil made the best point about that. And Ross, I'm glad you brought Reggie Jordan into the mix. It just reminds you of how many, and I'm really sorry to Reggie Jordan, although I could probably get a bucket on him now. He's 56. How many bad players Kevin Garnett played with? Like,
it's crazy.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Like that man, his legacy and his name being up there in the rafters eventually one day, once this arbitration thing figures out, if that happened in today's we would sympathize with him and we would be trying to get him out of there way sooner. He played with a lot of very mediocre Michigan Mayhem athletes.
Dude, so the year after, actually, I think Reggie Jordan was on this team too. Let's see here. No, he had been, so 99, 2000, he was somewhere else. But dude, that was a 50-win Timberwolves team. And their third leading scorer scored 11 points per game. It was rookie Wally Zerbiak. But they literally it was just random. It was Terrell Brandon was their second best player. Malik Sealy, rest his soul, was their fourth leading scorer. Veteran Anthony Peeler, Joe Smith, under the table. And they're winning 50. Tom Hammonds, my guy Tom Hammonds.
Your guy Tom.
They're rocking 50 wins.
Trying to think of other players on that team. Did
Bobby
KG
Jackson, Dean Garrett, Will Avery.
I was going to ask you if Dean Garrett was there. And then the other one that I thought of, I don't believe on that team, but did KG and Stojko Frankovic overlap?
Right, they did.
Did they?
That would have been like 96, 97 Wolves, right? Let's see here. Old Stojko Frankovic.
All-time great name. Stojko is a great name.
Yeah, Stojko started 35 games for the 96, 97 Wolves.
The Reggie Jordan LinkedIn connection request has been sent.
Yes.
There it is, dude. Got to make that happen.
Kyle's going to wind up moving to Chicago, Illinois to help work for the Chicago Performance Training, which I believe is all about basketball.
Even worse, when I text Phil like at 1 a.m. next week, like, hey, can we go tomorrow instead of Thursday because Reggie Jordan wants to be on the pod.
Reggie Jordan's got a window. He's got a window
Open invite.
Record.
You have 1 week to come on the pod and connect with me on LinkedIn.
Well, he's probably got some stories, man.
Somebody listening somehow knows Reggie Jordan, and they're going to send this pod to him, and he's basically going to say, they basically trashed me for 10 minutes. There's no way I'm coming on
196. He would still give us all hell in the paint.
Also, this is the most pub Reggie Jordan, I think, I don't know, has received in quite some time. So congrats to Kyle. 2-0 to start the second season of Random Wolf of the Week. To producer Ross, appreciate his contributions here. All right, dude, we'll talk to you next week here on Flagrant Howls. I think we have 4 games in the next 6 or 7 days here. So buckle up, Timberwolves fans. The sample sizes are about to get bigger. This is your favorite Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.